of Apples and Magic by Legion of Pony. Of life-changing questions and answers to them. Applejack chomped down into a freshly bucked apple, the crisp crunch sounding out. As she did, Twilight bit into her own apple, both looking out onto the trees, which had produced such delicacies from atop the hill they had claimed as their own. This was their 5th date, and it was late in autumn now. Applejack just having finished her shift bucking trees and harvesting the ripe fruit, and Twilight having helped her and Big Mac in the field, turning what used to be days' worth of work into a matter of a few minutes' worth of magic. Applejack was usually a very proud pony, refusing help from her friends unless she really needed it, relying on her family to help her out. But that was just it. Applejack viewed Twilight as family now. Today was wonderful. Even hard work was better with a beautiful and talented mare beside me, Applejack said happily, cuddling up against Twilight, feeling her wing wrapped around her back as they simply held each other close. Despite usually being exhausted after a hard day of apple bucking, Applejack felt only the slightest bit tired, with Twilight's magic making harvesting much easier than it usually was. Twilight blushed at the compliment. "Well, I'm just glad you let me help instead of running yourself ragged like you usually do," Twilight said, leaning into her stalwart mare friend, sneaking a brief kiss on the top of her muzzle. "Plus, that means you're still nice and energetic for me," Twilight said, giving a suggestive glance. No, Twilight, none of that right now," Applejack said in a fake lecture. "I may not be exhausted, but I still smell a mite rank. After all, we did just walk right over here from the orchard, and I ain't had a chance to shower yet." Twilight simply smiled as she got close and buried her muzzle into the farm mare's tied mane, finding that she indeed smelled of a hard day's work, but also finding that she was quite alright with that. "I don't mind," Twilight said sensually, her muzzle still buried in Applejack's hair, before suddenly she pulled back and held in her muzzle were the red bands that had held the mane captive. Applejack felt her mane fell free, shaking her head so it would go over her back instead of to the side. "You know how long it takes to put my mane up like that?" she asked, looking to the causation of her now loose mane, the pony responsible still holding her red hairband in her mouth and backing them with a grin. "Oh, about 5 seconds," Twilight answered as she sat them down, earning a huff. "Yeah, sounds about right," Applejack conceded with a smile before feeling Twilight's muzzle go back into her mane, her nose trailing along her neck now and making her shudder. "Come on, Twilight, I'm all sweaty and dirty. What if I said I liked you as a dirty mare?" Twilight asked with a smirk and a more than suggestive voice, Applejack simply remaining silent for a while, not sure how to respond. "Besides, I like your mane down. It makes you even more beautiful to me, if that were even possible." Applejack shuddered as Twilight started placing kisses on her neck now, small fireworks of pleasure going through her. "Come on, Twilight, I really need a shower before we get intimate," Applejack said, but it was only half-hearted. Before she knew it, Twilight was on top of her now, as she had been rolled over onto her back, softly pressed into the blanket their meal had once laid upon, before being swept away in Twilight's magic and into the grass. Their apples also long ago dropped and forgotten. Soon, Applejack felt the soft apple-flavored lips of her lover meet her own, and gave a quiet moan of satisfaction as Twilight laid upon her, their chests meeting and her hooves wrapping around Twilight's barrel. They kissed softly for a while, simply enjoying the feeling of the other's lips on their own, before Twilight tapped Applejack's closed teeth with her tongue, asking permission to enter. Twilight pressed on carefully, her tongue tracing Applejack's teeth, until suddenly the wall of enamel parted, as she had wordlessly requested, her tongue suddenly pressing deeper into her mate's maw now. Twilight moaned softly as she felt Applejack's tongue start to duel with her, that flexible muscle against her own bringing a whole new world of sensations to her, as she felt her back tingling, her wings flaring up on reflex as Applejack let out a quiet moan of her own, in turn as she started grinding up against her. Ever since she had used that weird, but really wonderful penis spell on herself, and had sated Applejack's heat with it, she realized Twilight had gone much more physical with her as of late, and much more open about some things about herself that she usually keep hidden, even with her best friends. They had talked about their hopes and dreams, their deepest desires, and their darkest secrets since that day of such close bonding. Twilight even admitted to her that she had a phobia of quesadillas, and though Applejack had no idea how any pony could fear a delicious, cheesy snack such as that, she accepted it as just being part of who Twilight was. In present times, as their makeout session ended after only a few minutes, Twilight finally rolled off of Applejack, leaving the orange farm mare panting softly as she herself was. "Wow, that was great, as always," Twilight said, then feeling a pair of strong hooves pulling her down to lay beside their owner, and giving a soft oof as she had softly hit the blanket. Applejack and Twilight both felt like they knew everything about the other, physically and otherwise, but Applejack wanted to know one more thing, or at least confirm it, before asking Twilight that question she intended to today. "Hey, Twi, you know when we, did the do while I was in heat?" Applejack said, receiving a nod from Twilight, with them now holding a dreamy expression at the steamy memories, their eyelids hooded as they stared into each other's eyes. "Well, I was thinking, do you really want to have foals with me like that? After we were married, of course. I've always wanted to have a large family ever since I was a little one, and I wanted to make sure that was okay with y'all." Twilight laid and thought for a while before nodding. "I've always wanted to have a foal or a few myself, but never really gave it any active thought given all my other responsibilities, from my studies to saving Equestria time and time again, then to my princess duties. I've never really had a chance to just settle down and consider motherhood. But yes, I do want to have foals one day." Applejack smiled and nuzzled against her, with Twilight wrapping a hoof around her crest in response and squeezing her against herself. "I'm glad to hear that," Applejack said. "That'll make this that much easier knowing that." The farm mare then stood and went to the picnic basket, lifting the cloth and revealing something she had kept hidden underneath it until now, a thin and long red box. Knowing what it contained could very well change her life forever, as she took it out carefully. Twilight was somewhat disappointed by the loss of her lover's muzzle and warmth against her, but her curiosity overwhelmed her as she saw Applejack walk over to the basket. As she saw a thin, long box be removed, however, she quickly found her desire to know what it was grow. Applejack then came over with the box in her mouth before setting it down in front of Twilight. "Twi, I have something very important to ask you," she said, before kneeling before Twilight. Applejack then opened the box, revealing a medieval-style bracelet studded with diamonds and a single emerald in the center. Twilight was stunned at what was transpiring so suddenly, as there in front of her was an antique Earth Pony engagement bracelet, its olden Earth Pony style distinct from any other jewelry ever produced, reproductions notwithstanding. Applejack cleared her throat, then looked into her mare friend's eyes, bracing herself for what she was going to say, butterflies dancing in her stomach. "Twi, these past years I've been your friend, and these past months I've been your mare friend, have been the best time of my life. I've never felt so loved, so accepted by any pony as much as by you. You've taught me so much about myself and showed me so much about you, and everything you've shown me about yourself has only made me love you more. You helped me when I needed some pony, but was too stubborn to ask. You saved my life countless times. You've showed me so much love." Applejack paused as she realized she was tearing up, seeing Twilight's eyes also starting to water. "Twi, what I wanted to ask you today is this. Princess Twilight Sparkle, would you do me the great honor of accepting me?" this simple farmer gal as your wife?" Applejack asked, giving a warm smile as she did despite being beyond nervous, her heart nearly thumping through her chest. As Twilight remained silent, a shocked expression on her face for quite some seconds. Applejack started to grow anxious, shifting in place, when Twilight suddenly virtually body slammed her into a tight hug, and Applejack felt her muzzle mash against hers when they hit the ground with Twilight on top. She found their lips meeting as she started kissing her passionately, and knew her worry was for naught. They continued kissing for a while, Twilight not wanting it to end, holding her lover close to her, as such an important decision was made. They lay together, with Twilight atop Applejack, as the prior met eyes with her love, her tears of joy dripping down on Applejack's muzzle. "Applejack, I wouldn't want any pony else in the world than you to call my own. I love you so much. Yes, 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 I will be your mare," she said, and at that, Applejack's own tears started falling as she reached up and pulled Twilight into another deep kiss, before it softened to a more gentle one shortly, a kiss of soulmates. Eventually, they released each other from their embrace, if reluctantly, the flavor of each other on their lips still fresh in each other's mouths. Applejack soon removed the bracelet from the box, lifting Twilight's hoof with her own and slipping it onto her fetlock. Twilight then gripped Applejack tightly in a hug as they sat, wrapping her wings round her back, as she held her fiancé close to her, as she now always would. "You know," Twilight said, giggling softly, "I was going to ask you to get today too. I even have the horn ring my mom and dad were married with on me." "Oh, really?" Applejack asked, chuckling softly. "And just how am I supposed to use a horn ring with no horn?" Twilight lit her horn. A small gold ring appeared round her neck on a gold chain, a sizable diamond ring in its middle. "Well, I thought about that. I know engagement necklaces are Pegasus' thing, but I was hoping it would be okay despite that. I know how important tradition is to you." "Twi, ain't none more important to me than you, even if it means breaking a tradition. Besides, it's beautiful, just like my fiancé. Mine too," Twilight said, as she then slipped the necklace over Applejack's neck and secured the clasps, only to be met in a soft kiss. They held each other for a while more as they kissed softly, now symbolically bound as one, as a ring circles itself and a bracelet traces its own curve. Their love was never ending.